Policy on disaster management. Today's class we will have a quick look about what is the policy of our country and how it is managing the disasters. And in particular, in our country, we do have disaster management authorities at different levels. We'll have a quick look about the disaster management authorities at all the levels. And I have organized the contents into four different categories. The first one, we will see the central government response and what are the primary and secondary relief functions. And we will move on to the Disaster Management Act, which is guiding us all through these years with respect to the disaster management. And we will also discuss the Disaster Management Authority, which is the authority which is responsible for managing the disasters at central level, state level, district level, and local body level. And finally, we'll discuss there is a special paramilitary force which is responsible for handling the disasters, which works under central government, which is called as a National Disaster Response Force, NDRF. So we will have a quick look about the constitution of NDRF. So right now, I'm focusing on the first thing, which is nothing but the national policy or the role of central governments in handling the disasters. You know that India is a very big country and it is experiencing lots of disasters every year. We are experiencing cyclones, monsoons, rains, floods also we are experiencing every now and then. I think yesterday you might have seen that 90% of Assam is now having shortage of food because the Brahmaputra river has been overflowing in the states for the past few days because of heavy rains. We have been watching it. So like this, we have been experiencing floods, cyclones on a very regular basis. Also, we are experiencing tremors also in North India regularly, at least once in 2 months. At the same time, parts of our country are facing droughts. You also know that. And even though we are not facing any volcanoes or what we call it as tsunamis or chemical disasters nowadays, but still we are experiencing few disasters, natural disasters, isn't it? So let's see what is the role of central governments in handling these disasters. And before going further, I would like to remind you two important terms which I'll be using in this presentation. One is NCAP, which has the full form of National Contingency Action Plan. Okay, National Contingency Action Plan. And the other one is the NDMA, which I'll be frequently using, which refers to National Disaster Management Authority. So these two terms I'll be using in this presentation. So before going any further, before going on what is the role of central government or state government in handling the disaster, let's have a quick look about what are the factors which affect the dimension of a response. See, if any disaster happens, it's within a matter of time the central government will be operating, isn't it? So, but before operating, before deploying the resources, what are the things which it has to observe? Let us suppose there are some 10,000 soldiers who are ready for permission from the central government to just dive into the disaster response. Now, is it all required or all the 10,000 members required or all the people, all the collectors should be there? We are supposed to look at few factors before finalizing what is the dimension of the response, isn't it? So in that one, now let's have the factors which affect this response. The first one is the gravity of the natural calamity. The gravity of the natural calamity, how hard it is. That is the first point which will be looked on. If the gravity is too high, then more number of resources can be deployed, isn't it? So the first thing which comes into picture is gravity of natural calamity. And the second thing is scale of relief operations necessary. This is the most important thing before deploying the resources. How many people you want? On how much basis you need relief operation? Isn't it? Let us suppose if it is floods, if all the district has been flooded, if all the parts of district has been flooded, you may require large number of people. If it is a cyclone, still more number of people are needed for evacuation, isn't it? Isn't it? If it, let us suppose if it is a drought, is there any need of any armed forces for evacuation? No. So you should know what is the gravity of the natural calamity, at the same time scale of relief operation, what is necessary. And the most important thing, requirements of central assistance for financial resources, and also requirement of state government. Let us suppose if it is only flooding of a local tank, do you require the central government for acting? No, you do require a local authority. If it is a cyclone which covers nearly 2 or 3 states, then central government resources must be deployed. Central government must provide finance, isn't it? So these 3 factors will affect the dimension of a response. Once again, reminding you, the first one is the gravity. The second one is the scale of relief operation necessary. And the third one is requirements of central assistance or state government assistance. Okay. So based upon this, no matter if the disaster is a very large one, if it has a very high gravity, and let us suppose if the relief operations required are at a large scale, surely central government will step in, isn't it? The Delhi government will, the central government will step in for managing the disaster. So now let's have a quick look about the response of central government. There are 2 cases of how the central government will respond. The first one is the policy matter. Policy matter policy matter means the government, whoever or the in charge people there, they will be visiting these areas, isn't it? They will be visiting. You might have seen the people will be visiting through helicopter. You might be seeing the photographs, isn't it? So the first thing what they will be doing is they will be visiting the calamity affected areas by the Honorable President, the Prime Minister, and whoever in charge is there. They will be visiting, isn't it? And once they visit, they will activate the administrative machinery, isn't it? Whoever the administration is there under the central government, they will give instructions. Once the instructions are being given, immediately machinery will be set up for implementing, reviewing, and monitoring the things. So all this comes under policy level. Visiting by the officials, giving instructions, and setting up the things. This will be done by the central government. At the same time, there is administrative response, isn't it? It's not just visiting, setting up some administration thing, but after that, now central government has come, visited, they have instructed the central government authorities to go implement some action plan, right? Now, what is required from the state point of view, isn't it? See the operational requirements and provision of central assistance. Now, let us suppose they have come, they have visited, and they are ready to give some assistance. How much assistance is to be given by the central government? That will be based upon need for assessment of the situation. This is most important, guys. I have mentioned in the previous slide also. Is there really a requirement for assessing the situations? As before I mentioned, if it is only a breaching of a tank or a small reservoir, is there any need for assessing the situation by the central government? No, isn't it? So need for assessment of situation must be carried out. And next, the state must instruct the central government. It must request the central government for some central assistance, from financial resources, from material resources, isn't it? And need for information as a governance objective. This is most important. Information must be passed. I'll take an example of COVID-19. In COVID-19, now the state governments must put up some information. They must ask for central assistance for procuring the vaccines, for procuring the jabs, injections and etc. Isn't it? It is the role of state government to inform and then request the central government. Then the central government will look after all these things, isn't it? So now this is the central response, the policy level, and the administrative response. Now, moving ahead, the central government, we will look only about the administrative response, isn't it? Now you have seen this one. See, in the administrative response, the operational requirements and provision of central assistance will be based upon these things, isn't it? Once these are properly received, if the state government has asked for some assistance, and if properly there is an information, and if really there is a requirement, then automatically the central government will provide something. So what are the things which are provided by the central government? Two things, they'll be classified into two things. One is primary relief functions, the other one is secondary relief functions. Now let's see what are the primary relief functions and what are the secondary relief functions. Primary relief functions of central government are those which are generally carried out before the start of the disaster. Next week cyclone వస్తుంది లేదా ఎల్లుండి నుంచి cyclone వస్తుంది and it will be of a stage 2 cyclone. Stage 2 cyclone వస్తుంది అనుకున్నప్పుడు ఆటోమేటిక్ ఏం చేయాలి, ముందుగానే సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ సైక్లోన్ అనేది స్టేట్ హ్యాండిల్ చేయలేదు అవునా, స్టేట్ ఒక లెవెల్ వరకే హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తుంది. Cyclone will be affecting multiple states, so central government will step in and it will do some things, some actions before the start of the cyclone. See, let's see what the actions which it will be doing. First thing, forecasting and operation of the warning system. So all the forecasting will be done by the central government itself. State government will have minimum resources. All the disaster response will be taken up by the central government on a large scale. And see, maintenance of uninterrupted communication, this is also in central government hands only. Public broadcasting also at the central government. Wide publicity through TV, All India Radio and newspapers taken up by the central government. And transportation basically it will be taken up by the state government. If not, central government also will give a helping hand for transportation of essential commodities and petroleum products. Okay, and ensuring availability of essential commodities, availability of medicines, vaccines and drugs, and restoration of physical communication links if at all if it is required. And these will be taken up by the central governments. Investments in infrastructure, let us suppose if there is a weak infrastructure, immediately central government will come into picture. And if let us suppose if the state government requires some funds for handling the disaster, central government will step in. If you give a request to the central government, it will surely step in. It will surely provide you financial resources. Okay, so these are the primary relief functions of the central government before the start of the disaster. Now let's see what is the aftermath of the disaster. Secondary relief functions. So Central Water Commission is there. I think you know Central Water Commission, right? So it will record all the floods and everything. It will record the water flows in all the canals and rivers, etc. So this job will be taken up by the Central Water Commission, particularly during the time of floods. And see, relief, rehabilitation and restoration through military aid to civil authorities. Contingency plans for crops, cattle preservation, nutrition and health measures. And see, technical inputs for provision of drinking water. Actually, these are to be handled by the state governments, but if state governments must pass on the information to the central governments. If not, central government will take up, but as a secondary relief function. Okay, you can go through these things. I'm moving a little bit forward. Now, I think you have understood what are the functions of the central government. Isn't it? Central government will do all the action. There is proper information from the state governments. And if there is a proper request from the state governments, and based upon the scale of relief operations required, then they will surely act. Earlier, before 2005, there was no proper act which governed this disaster operations on a large scale. But because of our disasters, severe happening of these earthquakes, the Bhuj earthquake in Gujarat and Maharashtra, and that in the Himalayas, in the northeastern states, and particularly the tsunami. Because of all of these massive disasters, the central government has made up a bill called as a Disaster Management Act in the year 2005. And there are so many things which have been placed in Disaster Management Acts. Even now also, you know, you might be seeing that if your parents are government employees, if your parents are doctors, then you might be seeing that there are some responsibilities of the people, isn't it, which are to be mandated, which are mandated by the central governments. And if you don't do these things, even doctors also, they are supposed to report to the duties daily. If they don't report, they will be punishable under Disaster Management Act 2000. There are some rules which are set up by the central governments. Yes, these are all required, isn't it? So all these policies were put together in this Disaster Management Act, which was enacted in the Parliament in 2005. See, it is a 53rd Act of the 2005 year, and it has, see how many, 11 chapters and 79 sections. 11 chapters and 79 sections. See, very good book. And it provides the effective management of disasters and for matters connected there with incidental there. Okay, so this is a preamble. In the preamble, I have taken it from the preamble, which states that this act is aimed at effective management of disasters and the matters which are connected with these disasters. Okay, and this was the bill which was made up into act. And see, this is the definition of the disaster which they have given. They have defined it as a catastrophe, a mishap or a calamity or a grave occurrence affecting any area, and it may arise from natural or man-made causes or by accident or negligence, which results in substantial loss of life or human suffering or damage to and destruction of property or damage to or degradation of environment. See, human suffering, property or environment, and is of such a nature or magnitude to be beyond the coping capacity of the community of the affected area. See how clearly they have mentioned. Very clearly they have mentioned of what actually is a disaster, isn't it? Either people should be affected or buildings should be affected or environment will be affected such that it can't be coped up by the society. It can't be coped up by the community of that particular area. వాళ్ళంతటా వాళ్ళు రిజాల్వ్ చేసుకోగలిగితే దాన్ని డిజాస్టర్ అనరు. చేసుకోలేకపోతే then it will be termed as a disaster. Okay, so such a nice definition of disaster. And they have also clearly defined what is management of a disaster. A continuous and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating and implementing measures which are necessary or expedient. They have clearly defined what actually is a disaster and disaster management. Okay, so based upon this, they have clearly stated what are the measures to be taken during the time of a disaster. And I have listed these things. See, the first thing is, if possible, try to prevent the disaster. The first and foremost thing is, if you can predict a disaster, try to prevent that one. Meteors వస్తున్నాయంటే ఇమ్మీడియట్గా ఏం చేస్తుంది, దాన్ని ఎక్కడో చోట బ్లాస్ట్ చేసేస్తుంది. సైక్లోన్ వస్తుంది అంటే దాన్ని మేనేజ్ చేయగలిగితే ప్రివెంట్ చేసి వేరే డైరెక్షన్ తీసుకెళ్ళగలిగితే లేకపోతే ట్రై టు మిటిగేట్ ఇట్. సో బట్ ద ఫస్ట్ స్టెప్ మస్ట్ బి, we must be aiming at prevention of the danger, isn't it? Next, immediately, if not preventing, try to mitigate it. తప్పదు అనుకున్నప్పుడు దానివల్ల వచ్చే లాస్ ని తగ్గించడానికి ట్రై చేయాలి. That is an important point here. If not possible to prevent it, try to mitigate or reduce the risk of the disaster. This is important. And next is, try to build the capacity. This is called as preparedness. If you are not able to mitigate it, if you are not able to prevent it, then make sure that you can withstand it. That is called as capacity building. Okay. And next is, okay, this is also comes under the same thing, preparedness to deal with any disaster. And next is prompt response. Response. You should be ready to, first thing is you should be prepared. If you are prepared, then get ready for the impact. So when it is impacting you, you must have a very good response, isn't it? A prompt response to any threatening disaster. And finally, assessing the severity or magnitude of effects of any disaster, and evacuation, rescue and relief. Lastly, finally, after evacuating the people and after rescuing them and after providing relief measures, make sure that you provide them rehabilitation and reconstruction is required. See, these are classified into 4 stages of disaster cycle. This is called as prevention and mitigation. This is first stage, prevention and mitigation. Second stage is, these two come under second stage, preparedness. This is response and this is recovery. 4 stages of disaster management cycle. Okay, prevention or mitigation. కుదిరితే ప్రివెన్షన్ అన్న చేయి, లేకపోతే కనీసం మిటిగేషన్ అన్న చేయి, లేదా ప్రిపేర్డ్గా ఉండు. These two will be done before the disaster. When the disaster is arriving, get ready for the impacts. Response, isn't it? How you are responding to the disaster, because you are already prepared. So how you are responding, this is response. And finally, recovery, how you are planning your recovery. The disaster has gone now. Now what are your stages of recovery? So these are the 4 stages of disaster management cycle. Okay, moving ahead. Disaster Management Authority. For managing the disaster, since in the Disaster Management Act 2005, the central government has asked to establish a separate authority which works to manage the disasters, and that authority is called as Disaster Management Authority. And there are very strict guidelines that Disaster Management Authority should be at central level, state level, district level, and local body level. Okay, if it is manageable and within the local body, then local body disaster management must take the responsibility. If it is manageable within the district disaster management authority will take care. If it is manageable within the state, SDMA will take care. If it is not manageable by anyone, NDMA will come into picture. Okay, now we will see the structure of DM. See, national level, state level, district level, and local level. NDMA, SDMA, DDMA, and LDMA. Okay, this is the structure of disaster management authorities at different levels. Now, this is the legal institutional framework in the Disaster Management Acts. They have clearly mentioned that, see, central government, state government, then in the district administration, local bodies and either panchayats or municipalities. Okay. So, and the composition of these, say, Prime Minister and a couple of ministers, handful of ministers will be part of this central government management authority. At the state government, Chief Minister is responsible, and a cabinet of, not all the cabinet, only few members, few key members of the cabinet, they will be members of this SDM. Similarly, at District Management Authority, collector will be in charge. And MRO, VRO, all these people, they will come under these local bodies. Okay. So in DMA itself, very clearly the guidelines were framed to develop authorities at all levels and what must be the constitution of these things. Okay. Now we will have a quick look about this NDMA, national level. Formed in 2005, and see, it has an headquarters at central level, so New Delhi. And see the annual budget here. I had the information of 2013-14. It was nearly 3.56 billion rupees. $50 million every year budget పెడుతున్నారు NDMA, and it is chaired by Prime Minister. Okay, and primarily it works under Ministry of Home Affairs, but there are other ministries also which are part of this NDMA. I will show you. Okay. Now, role of central ministers. These people, they will be part of this NDMA. But last time చూసుకున్నాం different types of disasters వస్తున్నాయి, cyclones అని, droughts అని, chemical disasters అని. ఒక్కొక్క type of disaster కి ఒక్కొక్క మినిస్టర్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్. ఓకే, డ్రాట్ వచ్చిందంటే ఎవరు రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ రా? అగ్రికల్చరల్ మినిస్టర్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్, అవునా కాదు? బయాలజికల్ డిజాస్టర్స్, ఎపిడమిక్స్ వచ్చినట్టే హూ ఇస్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్, హూ మస్ట్ ఆన్సర్ ఆల్ ద థింగ్స్? హెల్త్ మినిస్టర్ విల్ బి రెస్పాన్సిబుల్. కెమికల్ డిజాస్టర్ అయితే ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ మినిస్టర్, న్యూక్లియర్ అయితే అటామిక్ ఎనర్జీ మినిస్టర్, పవర్ మినిస్టర్, రైల్వే యాక్సిడెంట్స్ అయితే రైల్వే మినిస్టర్, ఎయిర్ యాక్సిడెంట్స్ అయితే సివిల్ ఏవియేషన్ మినిస్టర్. మిగిలిన అన్ని డిజాస్టర్స్కి, న్యాచురల్ డిజాస్టర్స్కి హోమ్ అఫైర్స్ విల్ ఆల్వేస్ బి రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ ఫర్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. ఓకే, సో లైక్ దట్ separate ministers will be acting as a nodal centers. These people will be acting as nodal centers for these disasters. Okay, and moving ahead. Now, in the NDMA itself, there are 5 divisions which look after different things. NDMA ante just only managing the disaster ante etla cheyali basically ga any stages lo cheyali. The first and foremost thing is policy and plan. ముందు పాలసీ డాక్యుమెంట్స్ సెట్ చేయాలి. ఏ డిజాస్టర్ వస్తే ఎట్లా రెస్పాన్స్ అవ్వాలి అనేది ముందు మీకు డాక్యుమెంటేషన్ ఉందనుకోరా, దాని ప్రకారంగా చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్ళిపోవచ్చు. సో వీ నీడ్ సమ్ పాలసీ డాక్యుమెంట్స్ విచ్ క్లియర్లీ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ వాట్ మస్ట్ బి ద ప్లానింగ్, isn't it? So policy and planning division is there, first and foremost division in NDMA. Apart from that, there are 4 more divisions. Mitigation division. These division, they will always strive to reduce the impact of a disaster. And next is operations and communications division. They will directly enter into the disaster prone area and they will start this operations and communications. And next is administration and capacity building. These 5 are the divisions of NDMA. Okay. And next is what is the role of NDMA? I will just highlight a few things. NDMA అనేది ఒక authority body, ఒక ఆఫీస్. దాంట్లో ఎంప్లాయీస్ ఉంటారు.
పూర్తిగా లేచినట్టే చెప్పేసాడు డాడీ, ఎత్తుకపోయి ఆ బాత్రూమ్ లో కూర్చోబెట్టు. లేచినట్టేనా పంటాడు.
Yeah. So NDMA. What the job of NDMA is? NDMA has a few jobs. It is not only just managing the disaster రాగానే పోయి పక్కడ పని చేయడం కాదు కదా. You are supposed to train other people also, isn't it? So the job of NDMA is, see, the job of NDMA. It equips and trains other government officials and institutions. This is a prime job of setting up of NDMA in Delhi. All the civil people, IPS aina, IAS aina, central government kinda evadu select aina sare, NDMA lo training ayi vastaru. Because they are responsible for any disasters. They are responsible for the people, right? So that's why it equips and trains other government officials, institutions, and the community regarding mitigation and response. Okay. Apart from that, they will operate National Institute of Disaster Management. There is a separate institute, National Institute of Disaster Management, where disaster management is a 2-year program. 6 months program unnadi, 1 year program unnadi, 2 years program unnadi disaster management lo. So they have a separate institute, and this institute will be handled by NDMA itself, and the name of the institute is National Institute of Disaster Management. Okay. And next is it equips and trains disaster management cells at the state and local levels, and see, it collaborates with 2 academies. 2 academies are there. I think you are all preparing for, few of people are preparing for central government jobs, isn't it? So one is Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. I think you, those who are preparing for the civil examinations, I think you remember this name, right? Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, where all the central government IAS offices, where the civil service preliminary, వీళ్ళందరూ క్లియర్ చేసిన తర్వాత ట్రైనింగ్ వచ్చే ఏరియా ఇది, లాల్ బహదూర్ శాస్త్రి నేషనల్ అకాడమీ ఆఫ్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్. అండ్ ద సెకండ్ థింగ్ ఇస్ సర్దార్ వల్లభాయ్ పటేల్ నేషనల్ పోలీస్ అకాడమీ. ఈ 2, ఒకటి IPS, 2 IAS. సో ఇక్కడ ట్రైన్ అవుతున్న ఎంప్లాయీస్ అందరూ కూడా IAS, IPS వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా దే విల్ బి ట్రైన్డ్ అండర్ NDMA ఆల్సో. దట్స్ వై నేను ఇక్కడ పాయింట్ రాశాను. NDMA collaborates with these 2 academies to impart training to administration and police officers. Okay. And next is it monitors and develops guidelines for local firefighting services in case of forest fires, and also it collaborates with Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, particularly in case of biological disasters and particularly in case of health disasters. Okay. And it also focuses on capacity building, and there are other responsibilities of NDMA also. It prepares the plans, it lays down the guidelines for state governments also. Okay. And ensures and provides recommendation for funding also. ఒక స్టేట్ కి ఇంత రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఉంది, సైక్లోన్ వచ్చింది, ఇంత డ్యామేజ్ జరిగింది. సో ఆల్ దిస్ it requires some funding from the central government. So all these jobs will be taken up by the NDMA. Okay. There are so many responsibilities, you can go through all these things. Okay. And next one is state level. What I have said now is a national level, isn't it? They have separate institute. They will train all the people. Even the state level people also, they will be trained at national level, national NDM, National Disaster Management Authority. So now, what will be there in the state authority? State authority comprises of Chief Minister of State and 9 other members who are nominated by the Chief Minister. So important ministers of state, they will be part of the State Disaster Management Authority. And they will be having an advisory committee also, which consists of experts from different fields. And these expert committee, they will be assisting the state government in how to handle a disaster. Okay. So, and this SDM, it will define the role of, okay, this ministry is supposed to do this thing. This department is supposed to do this thing in case of a disaster. So that's the job of State Disaster Management Authority. Okay. And next comes the Disaster Management Authority. As already been said, central government lo central ministers unnaru, state government lo state ministers unnaru, district lo ministers undaru kada. So district lo collector is the boss. So who are the people in this district authority? One is collector, the other one is a district magistrate, who is the collector itself mostly, and a deputy commissioner. If at all, if there is a commissioner, commissioner is a boss, and a chief medical officer. So these people, administration, legal, enforcement, and medical services. So these 4 are the part of district disaster management authority. They will prepare a plan and they will ensure that the areas which are vulnerable to the disaster are quickly identified and necessary action plan is implemented in case of a disaster. And next, what are the duties of DDM? As already been mentioned, they will allocate responsibilities at the district level to different people. They will procure the essential resources, establish the communication links, and inform all the public regarding the disasters. And after this, at the bottommost level, there is a local authority, local disaster management authority. It will be there in the panchayat, it will be there in the municipality, it will be there in the corporation level also. So that's why I have mentioned here. It includes different types of institutions within a specified local area. And all these employees in this Panchayati Raj institution, municipality, they will become members of this LDM. What they do, they will carry out the relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction activities in the affected areas, isn't it? So based upon the state plan, district plan, these people, they will be giving up the plans. So based upon the plans, local authorities, they will do all these jobs. Okay. And next is, so I hope now you have understood. There are authorities at different levels. They will lay down the plans. National level authority is the highest one. It will train the people. It will train the IAS, IPS, and it lays down the plans. It will also suggest contingencies, fundings, etc. Next to that level, state level will be there. The ministers, the chief minister, along with some advisory group, they will lay down the plans and they will instruct the people at the district level. In the district level, it is more important. Collector from the administration side, legal side, and from police side, the deputy commissioner or the deputy superintendent or commissioner, whoever he is, law and administration. And finally, the medical people, they will be forming the district level authority. They will lay down the plans, and at the bottom level, local authority will be there. They will just implement the plans. They won't lay down the plans. They will just implement the plans which they have received from the topper authority, from the higher authorities. And next, we will move on to the National Disaster Response Force. This is one force, guys. You know, this is one force. Yeah, I think you might have heard about different police forces, isn't it? CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force, RPF, Reserve Police Force, BSF, Border Security Force, Sahastra Seema Bal, isn't it? And CISF, Central Industrial Security Force. The central government has been maintaining different types of forces. SPF, Special Protection Force, Black Commandos, different types of peoples, different types of forces, isn't it? Exclusively for different applications, isn't it? ఒక్కొక్క దాంట్లో రెజిమెంట్స్ ఉంటాయి, మళ్ళీ తర్వాత దాంట్లో నంబర్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ ఉంటారు. సో అన్నిటిని కలుపుకొని నేషనల్ డిజాస్టర్ రెస్పాన్స్ ఫోర్స్ అనేది ఒకటి క్రియేట్ చేసింది సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్. నౌ లెట్స్ హ్యావ్ క్విక్ లుక్ అబౌట్ నేషనల్ డిజాస్టర్ రెస్పాన్స్ ఫోర్స్ బిఫోర్ గోయింగ్ ఇన్ టు దట్. See, it was started నేషనల్ డిజాస్టర్ యాక్ట్ ఎప్పుడైతే డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ యాక్ట్ ఎప్పుడైతే ఫామ్ అయిందో 2005లో. సో మేనేజ్మెంట్ అథారిటీస్ ఉండాలి, ప్లస్ అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం సపరేట్ ఫోర్స్ ఉండాలి అనేది డిసైడ్ చేయడం జరిగింది. సో డిజాస్టర్స్ జరిగినప్పుడు ట్రైన్డ్ పీపుల్ ఉండాలి. అండ్ ఈ ట్రైనింగ్ అంతా మీరు ఎట్లాగో పైన చేస్తున్నారు, నేషనల్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఆఫ్ డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ తయారు చేస్తుంది. సో దే హ్యావ్ ఐడెంటిఫైడ్ దట్ సపరేట్గా ఒక ఫోర్స్ ఉండాలి అండ్ ఇట్ మస్ట్ బి లొకేటెడ్ ఎట్ డిఫరెంట్ ప్లేసెస్ ఇన్ ద కంట్రీ. సో ఎక్కడ ఏదైనా జరిగితే, డిజాస్టర్ జరిగితే ఇమ్మీడియట్లీ ద నియరెస్ట్ ఫోర్స్ మస్ట్ గో దర్ అండ్ హెల్ప్ ద లోకల్ బాడీస్. ఆ ఉద్దేశంతో ఎన్డీఆర్ఎఫ్ని స్థాపించడం జరిగింది. ఓకే, అండ్ నౌ శ్రీ హోమ్ మినిస్టర్ Amit Shah is the minister responsible for NDRF. NDRF works under him. Headquarters is at New Delhi at NDMA authority itself, and it has a single motto: saving lives and also beyond that. And it has a separate website also. You can go through the website also. Okay, and now see here what it composes of. It has 12 battalions. Okay, each battalion consists of nearly 1149 people. And like that 12 battalions are there. See, out of these 12 battalions, NDRF ki separate ga training undadra. Nenu andukane cheptanu. Border security forces lonchi 3 battalions, సెంట్రల్ పోలీస్ రిజర్వ్ పోలీస్ ఫోర్స్ లోంచి 3 battalions, సెంట్రల్ ఇండస్ట్రియల్ సెక్యూరిటీ ఫోర్స్ లోంచి 2 battalions, ఇండో టిబెటన్ బోర్డర్ పోలీస్ లోంచి 2 battalions, సహస్ర సీమా బల్ నుంచి 2 battalions, టోటల్ 12. 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. అంటే బోర్డర్ సెక్యూరిటీ ఫోర్స్ వాళ్ళు ఎవ్రీ 5 years ఒకసారి వాళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి ఇంతమంది పీపుల్ని పంపించాలి ఎన్డీఆర్ఎఫ్లో పనిచేయడానికి. ఒక 3 years or 4 years అందులో చేసి మళ్ళీ వెనక్కి వచ్చేస్తారు. లైక్ దట్ ఎవ్రీ 3 yearsకి వీళ్ళు పంపిస్తూ ఉండాలి కొంతమంది పీపుల్ని ఎన్డీఆర్ఎఫ్లో పనిచేయడానికి. లైక్ దట్ ఆల్ ద police forces, they will be sending their share to work in national disaster management. So this is the composition of NDRF. Okay, and see the important thing, it consists of 12 battalions, and see the total strength of each battalion is approximately 1149. ఒక్కొక్క battalion లో 1150 మంది ఉంటారు approximately, and each battalion is capable of providing 18 self-contained specialist research and rescue teams of 45 personnel each. ఒక్కొక్క బెటాలియన్ లోంచి 18 టీమ్స్ వస్తాయి. ఒక్కొక్క బెటాలియన్ లోంచి ఒక్కొక్క బెటాలియన్ 18 టీమ్స్ ఇస్తే ఒక్కో టీంలో మళ్ళీ 45 మంది ఉంటారు. అంటే చూడండి, 12 battalions, each of 18 groups, each of 18 groups, each group consists of again 45 people, and the 45 people they will be engineers, they will be technicians, they will be dog squads, they will be medical people, they will be paramedical people. All these people they will be there in that 45. ప్రతి టీంలో ఈ 45 members టీంలో డాక్టర్లు ఉంటారు, నర్సులు ఉంటారు, డాగ్ స్క్వాడ్స్ ఉంటారు, టెక్నీషియన్స్ ఉంటారు, అండ్ ఎలక్ట్రీషియన్స్ ఉంటారు, అండ్ ఆల్ ద థింగ్స్ విచ్ ఆర్ రిక్వైర్డ్ డ్యూరింగ్ ద డిజాస్టర్. అన్ని ఏరియాల నుంచి ఉంటారు. ఇంతమంది పీపుల్ పనిచేస్తారు ఎన్డీఆర్ఎఫ్లో. They will be always ready, 24/7, 365 days ready to work with a single motto: saving lives and beyond. Okay, and NDRF, in addition to being able to respond to natural disasters, they have 4 battalions capable of responding. Ee 12 lone nana they can withstand, they can operate for radiological, nuclear, biological and chemical disasters also. So they will be ready to work for any of these things. మనకు సైక్లోన్స్ వచ్చినా, ఫ్లడ్స్ వచ్చినా, బయాలజికల్ డిజాస్టర్స్ వచ్చినా, ఏ వచ్చినా ఇందులోంచే క్వాలిఫై చేస్తారు. ఈ 12 battalionsని different locations across the country they have been placed so that they can reach out to the nearest area. I will show you the map where these are. Okay, see, this is battalion, BN stands for battalion. See 12 battalions which are located at different places. The nearest one for us is this one, 10th battalion at Vijayawada, and it is of CRPF battalion as of now. And the other nearest one for us is must be one in okay, yeah, this one, Arakonam. This one is of CISF battalion, which consists of nearly 1100 people. So these two are the nearest ones for Hyderabad. This one is one, and this one is one. Okay. So if anything happens here, immediately that battalion will come into picture. Okay. Now, what is the significance of NDRF then? NDRF has proved its significance in achieving. Okay, fine. You can go through all these things. So far, they will proudly say in their website that they have saved nearly 1.33 lakhs of human people. Even for us, it is very hard to save not even one single human person, right? But these guys, they proudly say that they have saved this many number of human lives. They have participated in 73 rescue operations in the country. This data was of 2018 data. And now also, even in case of floods, even in the case of Brahmaputra floods, there was a battalion working there, evacuating the people, providing them necessary relief measures on the request of the state governments. They are doing wonderful, marvelous job. And next, okay, I think if you can see this thing, incident response team in Japan, incident 45 members team ఉంటుందని చెప్పాను కదా బేసికల్గా. ఒక్కో బెటాలియన్ నుంచి 18 టీంలు వెళ్తాయి డిఫరెంట్ లొకేషన్స్కి. ఒక్కో దాంట్లో మళ్ళీ 45 మంది ఉంటారు. సో ఎట్లా సెలెక్ట్ చేస్తారనేది ఇఫ్ యూ కెన్ సీ దిస్ వన్, సి ఇన్సిడెంట్ రెస్పాన్స్ టీమ్, ఇన్సిడెంట్ కమాండర్ ఉంటాడు, ఆ టీంకి కమాండర్ అంటారు, ఆయనకు ఒక డెప్యూటీ ఉంటుంది. వాళ్ళ కింద ఇదిగో ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ మీడియా ఆఫీసర్, సేఫ్టీ ఆఫీసర్, లయాసన్ ఆఫీసర్, వాళ్ళ కింద 3 సెక్షన్స్ వేసుకుంటారు. ఒకటి ఆపరేషన్ సెక్షన్, ప్లానింగ్ సెక్షన్, లాజిస్టిక్స్ సెక్షన్. లాజిస్టిక్స్ అంటే ట్రాన్స్పోర్టేషన్. అండ్ సి మళ్ళీ ఇందులో సపరేట్ యూనిట్స్ లాగా వేసుకుంటారు. ఇవి కాక మెడికల్ గ్రూప్ ఉంటుంది, రెస్టోరేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఎసెన్షియల్ సర్వీసెస్ ఉంటుంది, డెడ్ బాడీ మేనేజ్మెంట్ గ్రూప్ ఉంటుంది. సి వాళ్ళు ఎంత ప్లాన్డ్గా, ఆర్గనైజ్డ్గా టీమ్. మీరు ఇలా ఎవరైనా ఎన్ఎస్ఎస్ ఉంటే కింద బేసికల్గా ఎన్సీసీ వాళ్ళకు ఉంటే కింద వాళ్ళకి అలవాటు ఉంటుంది. Everything will be organized. Everything they will be having layout of plans. Based upon that, they will be recruiting. Based upon that, they will be working. See how neatly they have been organized. Okay. So this is the general layout of a incident response system. And apart from that, they will always go with the development of a control, isn't it? If at all, if they are responding to any disaster, if they have gone to handle a disaster, immediately they will start setting up of a war room, or what we call it as a control room, isn't it? And this NDM, National Disaster Management, they have set up a central control room also. And at the time of disasters, they will set up some local control rooms also. And what it involves and what it does, that we can go through here. And every time they will lay out this detailed action plan. They will lay out detailed action plan. They will mention each and every minute thing, what is to be done very clearly to all the people who are involving in that. And everything will be handled from this control room. I think I have mentioned somewhere, yeah. Nerve center for all emergencies is the central control room of India. Okay. And next is these are the relief operations. Say relief commissioner is the key. What he does, he is the nodal officer to coordinate all relief operations for all natural calamities. We call them as relief commissioner. And next is resident commissioner, who is also basically the chief secretary of the state. They will interact with the national authorities during the period of crisis. Apart from that, there are central ministers and central departments. You know that I have mentioned for different types of disasters, different central minister will come into picture. They will act as a nodal center. So they will take up all the primary and secondary relief functions, which we have seen at the start of the lecture, isn't it? And officers, they will make a detailed action plan, DAP, and they will inform the local state governments or the district governments. And in the district control room, day-to-day monitoring will be happening. And the collector, who is in charge of the district control room, or if collector is not ready, Then the law and enforcement people. Generally, we will be having deputy commissioner or DSP, whoever is in charge in that district. So he will take care of all these things. He furnishes information on daily basis to state relief commissioner. State relief commissioner will give the same information to the central relief commissioner. It interacts with different implementation agencies and establishes some voluntary effects. Okay. So these are the major responsibilities. You can go through them. Major responsibilities of Disaster Management Division, which works under Ministry of Home Affairs. And yeah, this is one thing which you are supposed to remember better all the time. 100 అంటే ఏమొస్తుందిరా పోలీస్కి పోతుంది, 108 అంటే అంబులెన్స్ వస్తుంది. ఈ రెండు నంబర్లు బాగా గుర్తున్నాయి అందరికి. ఓకే, బట్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ స్టక్ అప్ ఇన్ ఎ డిజాస్టర్, see this is the toll free number 1070. Okay, 1070. Are you able to see this one? 1070 is a toll free number for relief commissioner, for central relief commissioner, state relief commissioner, local relief commissioner, relief commissioner who is in charge of the disaster. 1070. Okay, whereas 1077 is the control. Normally what they do is nothing but 1070 will be held up at central and state level. Local level they will give it 1077. You can call either of these numbers. So I think I have mentioned here. Yeah, central relief commissioner, central, and central, state or union territory, whatever it may be. 1070. 1077 is for district level. Local level ku undadra, district level ke untundi minimum helpline number 1077. Try to remember these two numbers, 1077, 1077. Okay, and so now what you have understood now, what are the relief functions which are carried out by the central government, and what is the role of DMA and NDRF during disasters, isn't it? This is what we have seen. I hope you have understood, you have got some information about how this policy matters will be from the central level, from the state level, what they do, and what is the Disaster Management Act. And see guys, successful emergency management relies upon experience and expertise, and that's why management authority, disaster management authority comes into picture there. Okay, so and before stopping this presentation, I would like to mention